Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, the Hut, and we are back here at the Baseball Hut, and I need you to subscribe and like the video before we get into that. So the Mets are playing the Yankees right now. Quintana, the second start wasn't as good as the first one, but I'm going to read you. I don't normally read anything on this channel. It's from SMY.TV. Headline: Mets move closer to selling. Now, what do you think of that? About that? The Mets are closer to selling, and this is according to Andy Martino. Buddy Andy, rivals see Mets as increasingly likely to move Tommy Pham, David Robertson, and Mark Canha. The Mets are now exchanging names and trade concepts with other teams, according to multiple rival executives, an indication that they are moving closer to becoming trade deadline sellers. Still, the Mets front office continues to watch the games closely before making a final decision on which direction to take prior to the August 1st deadline. Trade talks are hot and heavy, but in the words of one source in the pricing phase, when teams feel each other out to see if there is a fit. The Mets are rational about their chances to jump back into the wildcard race, which stood at 17.8% for the start of Wednesday's game at Yankee Stadium. They're also like 6 games back of the wild card. And how many games are they under 500? 5 games under 500? It's not happening. But they are clear-eyed about being on life support. Rivals see the Mets as increasingly likely to move free agents to be Tommy Pham, David Robertson, and Mark Canha, who is under team control. This is Canha under team control next year through a club option. To date, there has been minimum interest in or dialogue about pricey veterans Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. Well, that makes the most sense if you think about it, folks. This is a team that's really not going anywhere. But you got these guys that are on expiring contracts. You don't feel they're older, especially Pham and Canha, and obviously Robertson. They've all performed pretty good. I mean, Robertson could have made the All-Star team. You could have made a case for him making the All-Star team. Pham went from being a 4th, 5th outfielder to being the everyday left fielder on this team, especially when this team was not really producing. Mark Canha he's a good baseball player, Mark Canha. He's 34 years old. They signed him as sort of a hold the fort guy, to help this team. I want to point a couple of things out. I was thinking about this today, too. We've talked a lot about the lack of Mets pitching in the Mets farm system. Mets don't have a lot of outfielders in that farm system either. They probably have less ready-made outfielders ready to go, and probably less than pitching, to be honest with you. The big prospect the Mets have is Alex Ramirez. He took a big step back this year with his offensive play. But, as a New York Met fan, we want to see the team win and play well. They've played better in the month of July, but this hole that they put themselves in the month of June, it basically just destroyed the entire season. We can go over what the problems are. The pitching has been terrible. Really, up until the last week, Pete Alonso has been sort of non-existent. He looks much better now. He looked great yesterday against the Yankees, but this is not a great season to be a fan. But there's still baseball to be played. There's 6 days left until the trading deadline at 6 p.m. on Tuesday. The Mets are gonna move some of these guys, and I would hope that they would do some more. I'd like to see them get again. I believe it or not, I'm kind of relieved that Luis Guillorme is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. I would expect that would be the end of his season. If he comes back, probably the last 2 weeks in September. I'd like to see I don't want to see him again play for the Mets, quite frankly. I would hope that they do the right thing and move on from Daniel Vogelback. If he survives the season, I am a monkey's uncle. I'd be very shocked. That's a guy that how he's been able to sort of skulk around this ball club when he's provided zero value other than once in a while he runs into a home run, very rarely. You know, he hit a home run the first 2 months of the season. 1 home run in 2 months. Um, but, you know, I'd like to see Ronnie Mauricio. I would mention this about Ronnie Mauricio. Baseball America came out with a revised top 30 Mets prospects. Top 30 prospects. And Baseball America, if you know, is the preeminent authority on Major League prospects, Major League Baseball prospects. And they named Ronnie Mauricio the Mets' #1 prospect. He went past Kevin Parada on the Mets list. As you know, a lot of guys got sort of what they call graduated off the list. I think Mark Vientos is still on that list, by the way. But obviously, Kodai Senga was on that list, believe it or not. Brett Beatty, he was on that list, believe it or not. And of course, the excellent Francisco Alvarez was on that list. So now we're getting close to the trade deadline. I expect some movement to happen. I expect them to move these veteran players. Tommy Pham, they're not going to get much for these guys, but you get them out of here. You bring in new guys to see what they can do, and you just change it up a little bit. You can't. If you're not going to re-sign some of these guys, if you're not going to keep some of these guys, like Mark Hanna, are you going to re-sign him? Are you going to pick up the option on his contract? I highly doubt it. Tommy Pham's 35 years old. You're going to bring him back next year? I highly doubt it. But Dave Roberts, a different situation. You know, I would assume that he'll pitch again next year. I would try to bring him back in the offseason. But if you could get something back for him, and he might be the one guy that you'll get a lot for, seeing as how he's been very, very good this year, been the Mets closer. I wouldn't mind the Mets doing something with him in the offseason. It's just a thought, and this is just a side note. I think the Mets should consider bringing in a third baseman from outside the organization. I do not like Beatty at third, and after seeing Vientos play a couple balls at third, I don't like him either tonight. So I think that they should really look into getting another third baseman in here. Is it Matt Chapman? I don't know if I want to get him in here because he's not really... For this kind of a lineup, you need somebody that's more reliable than him. I'm not too enamored with him, to be honest with you, offensively. Defensively, he's a great player. Offensively, he sucks. He strikes out 200 times a year. I heard a rumor. I heard actually a really interesting story. A rumor, a thought from a legendary radio personality. That's from Mike Francesa. Mike Francesa was on SNY yesterday. He was on that show, Baseball Night in New York. And he was on with John Jastrzemski and Sal Licata. And he had mentioned that the Mets should go after Juan Soto, either at the deadline or in the off-season. And the reason being, folks, he had said that the Padres lost out on a contract, a TV contract, a big TV contract. And I was reading before that they were going to be partners in this contract. So they don't have a network right now. In fact, MLB is producing the games, and they've been doing it since the end of May, which I didn't know about. So they don't have the money, they don't have the revenue. They don't have the revenue that they were expecting to have through this whole thing. So now they have all these players that are making all this money. Tatis, Machado, Yu Darvish, and now they got Soto. Now there's a lot of sort of grumpiness in that clubhouse, and it seems that Soto he's not too happy in that clubhouse. So I thought that was an interesting thing I heard from Francesa yesterday. He gave us a little information. He gave me a little information. I'm imparting it to you. And he's big on these networks. He knows about all these different TV deals. He's always bragging about it when he's had his radio show. So if there's one guy that's chimed into that, that's a guy to listen to. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit he gave me and gave us, and I'm giving you, about Juan Soto, and that the Padres might be desperate to start moving players off that team. So just keep an eye on Soto, and really probably some of these other guys too. Uh, so that's for the off season. But we'll see how that sort of works out and settles. But we will be very busy here at the Baseball Hut, and we will have the trades when they come. I'll do videos for you, and we'll discuss it as Mets fans and as baseball fans, and of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. I don't do as many videos as I had been doing because I've been very busy with my other ventures on YouTube. But I am still here. I'm not going anywhere. So don't think that I take a couple of days off means I'm not watching the games. I always watch the games. I always have and I always will. So thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Thank you. And I'll see you later.